Lisa, a registered nurse here at Precision Advanced Specialty Healthcare. Today I want to demonstrate for you how to do your TPN at home. You're going to begin by gathering your supplies. Of course, anytime you're going to be using the supplies or touching your IV line, make sure you've washed your hands really good with soap and water and you've put your gloves on. Now for supplies, we need our TPN bag. When we deliver these to you, they will be on ice, and you need to keep them in the refrigerator. You need your pump. You need your multivitamins. There will be 2 vials, one that has a white cap, one that has a blue cap. The multivitamins say vial 1 and vial 2. So you need one of each vial for each TPN infusion. You need the key for your pump or a coin, alcohol pads, a battery. We need a 10 cc syringe and a needle. We need our pump tubing. We need a saline flush. And then if we're going to have any other additives other than multivitamins like insulin, we'll need the supplies to add those additives. Today we're just going to go through adding the multivitamins to our TPN solution, and the same steps will be taken if you're going to add any other additives. We will make sure that when we go through your teaching at the hospital that you know all the additives that need to be added to your TPN. We will give you a teaching sheet like this and a TPN infusion book for your home. It goes through all the steps of the TPN infusion process. It tells you what supplies you need for your TPN infusion, and it has a lot of other valuable information on it that you will need to be successful with your home infusion. Now let's begin getting our TPN ready to infuse. Remember, this has been in the refrigerator. We want to make sure that we take it out at least an hour before we're going to get our infusion ready. We want to first add our multivitamin to our TPN. So we're going to take our 2 vials. We need our 10 cc syringe, our needle, and an alcohol pad. The tops of these vials will just pop off by you pushing on them with your thumb. Clean the top of each vial with alcohol. You want to give that a minute to dry. Your syringe will just pop out of the packaging. Same way with your needle. We want to attach our needle to our syringe, push the syringe into the needle, and then just twist to make sure it's attached securely. Now we're going to draw up our multivitamins to add to our TPN bag. Remove the end of your needle. Press the needle down into the vial, turn it upside down, and then you're going to pull down on this plunger and pull your needle down in the fluid until you pull all the fluid out of the vial. Each vial has got 5 cc's in it, so you make sure you get it all out. And if you have to, you will bring your needle down and pull until it's completely empty. We don't want that extra air in there, so we're going to push up. And then we're going to put our needle in our second vial. Okay, now we're going to add the second vial. The multivitamins have to be refrigerated as well, so keep those in the refrigerator when they're not being used. Take them out just at the same time you take out your TPN bag. We're going to turn that upside down. We're going to pull down on our plunger and pull our needle down inside the vial until we draw all the vitamins out of the vial. When you finish, you should have 10 cc's of fluid. We don't want to add any air to our TPN bag, so we're going to push that up, but we're not going to push any out. Then we're going to scoop our top back on our needle to protect it and to keep it from getting contaminated. Now we're ready to add the multivitamins to our TPN bag. Your TPN bag is going to have 3 ports on the end. You have a port that has silver covering on it. This is where you're going to add any additives like the multivitamins. The center one has a clamp on it. That is the one that our pharmacy has used to mix your TPN. My TPN is clear. Your TPN will likely be a milky color because it's going to have lipids that have been added to it. We use this for teaching, so this doesn't look exactly like yours. Yours will be white. Then we also have a third port, and this is the port where we put the tubing into our TPN bag for infusion. So right now, we're going to add the multivitamins to our TPN bag. We're going to take this silver cover off. We're going to grab an alcohol. We're going to clean the end of this. And then we're going to add our multivitamins. Now we don't want this to get contaminated after we've cleaned it. So we're going to hold on to that. We're going to pull the cap off of our needle. Now we're going to take our needle. We're going to press it straight into the center of this port. There's a hole in the center of that. And I'm going to aim for that hole with my needle, and I want to press the needle straight in, making sure that I don't go at an angle and puncture either side on the port of my TPN bag. Once I have that straight in, then I'm going to press the multivitamins into my bag. You can even pull back a little bit of fluid and then push back in to make sure that you get all of the multivitamins out of the syringe. Once I have put all the multivitamins in, I'm going to pull my needle out. Again, I'm going to cap it by sliding it under. I can throw this in the trash and I'll put the needle into my sharps container. Once I have added the multivitamins to my bag, then I want to gently rock the bag back and forth for a couple of minutes to make sure that it's completely mixed. We want to make sure it's good and mixed before we attach our tubing. Now we are ready to attach our tubing to our TPN bag. Now we're going to get our tubing ready to attach to our TPN bag. You're going to open up your tubing. You want to use a new tubing with every TPN bag. You're going to take the tubing out. One end of the tubing has the spike. It has a cover on the spike that is protecting it because this is what's going to go into our TPN, so that needs to be kept sterile. Then we have our cartridge that attaches to our pump. There is a blue cap on here. Keep that cap on until we have primed the TPN through the cartridge. We have a filter on our tubing, and then there's also a clamp. Make sure that your clamp has been clamped before you attach the tubing to your TPN bag. Now, we're going to take the port that has the clear tab on it. This is the port where our spike on our tubing will enter. We're going to pull this tab and break that off, revealing the hole where our spike enters. We will take the cover off of our spike, making sure not to touch the spike, and then we want to push the spike into our bag going straight, making sure not to puncture on either side. You're going to push and twist and turn until the spike is completely in your bag. If you go straight, then you'll be sure that the spike will not puncture either side. Once we have our tubing attached to our bag, we'll take our bag and hang it on our IV pole. Now we want to prime our bag, or prime our tubing with the TPN solution. We will do that by making sure that we want to make sure that this filter is in an upright position. So we're going to hold this in an upright position, and we're going to open up our clamp. Once we open the clamp, we will open the end of our tubing. Make sure not to touch the end. And we want to see the fluid go all the way down through our tubing by gravity. You're going to see it go all the way down, priming your tubing all the way down to the end. If you notice here, we're watching it go all the way down to the end. Once we see that our fluid has primed to the end of our tubing, then we will clamp our clamp again. We want to make sure that all the air is completely removed. And then we're going to clamp our clamp because we saw the drips come out the bottom. Put your protective cap back on the bottom. We have no air in our tubing. If you see little small champagne bubbles, those are perfectly safe. You don't have to worry about those. So now our tubing is completely primed, and we are ready to attach this to our... Now we're ready to attach our TPN bag that has been connected to the TPN bag tubing to our pump. We've taken it off of our IV pool to easily attach it to the pump. Your pump has a slide cover on the side for the battery. Just press the little white tab in, pull the battery cover off. You're going to put your battery in. If you don't hear a sound when the battery is placed inside the pump, then it's not the correct direction. Just turn it around and you'll hear the beep letting you know that it has been entered correctly. Once we've entered the battery into the pump will begin going through what it is considered a self-test setup. It's going through all the settings that our pharmacist has programmed into the pump that are related to how your TPN will be infused. We'll make sure when we teach you and we give you your TPN folder that you know exactly what settings will be in your TPN pump. Once it has finished going through, it's going to tell you that there's no air. It's going to go through each one of the settings, making sure that the pump is programmed the way that our pharmacist has programmed it for you. We're going to let that finish doing what it's doing. On the cartridge, this blue tab you can now lift and remove. Our cartridge has two little pieces right here that will attach to our pump. Once the pump is finished going through its setup process, it gave us a little message that said power up successful. So we know that it's ready to be used. Looking at our pump right now, there is an amber light blinking at us, and that tells us that it is in the stopped mode. So if an amber light is on, then your pump is not working. So it's in the stopped mode. We also know that our pump is in the TPN mode. If we pressed next, just to make sure what our settings are, the reservoir volume is listed. Our reservoir volume is listed here as 1950. The reason the reservoir volume is important is every time that you attach a new TPN bag to infuse, you need to make sure that this reservoir volume has been reset. The pump will ask you, do you want to reset the reservoir volume? If you're attaching a new bag, then the answer is going to be yes. If it doesn't ask you to reset the reservoir volume, then when you're at the reservoir volume page, you can press enter and it will ask me if I want to reset. It's not going to reset because it's already at the correct volume right now. I can press next and it will go through all of the settings that are specific to your TPN infusion. So now we're going to connect our cartridge to our pump. There are two little feet here on our cartridge that will go under these two little metal prongs on the bottom of our pump. Slide those feet under, and then we're going to press down because we have to make sure that this is good and tight in order to get it to lock into place. We have a key area right here that is currently going horizontal, and for it to be locked into place, we want it to be vertical. So we're going to use the side of our CAD pump key, or you can use a coin, and you're going to turn that until it is in the vertical position. Okay, let's go through how we attach that cassette one more time. We have the feet on the bottom of our cartridge that are going to go underneath these metal prongs on the bottom of our CAD pump. Push those feet underneath the prongs. Then we're going to hold the cartridge tightly against the pump. We're going to turn our key from horizontal to vertical. Push down and turn it until it's vertical. If it is latched correctly, it will say high volume administration set is latched. Now it says press next to continue. If I press next, it asks me if I want to prime the tubing. We primed our tubing manually, so we don't need the pump to prime the tubing. So if it asks you about priming the tubing, your answer is always going to be no. Now it asks me if I want to start the pump. I'm not ready to start the pump yet because I haven't connected my tubing to my IV line. We're going to do that now. Before I can attach my IV tubing to my IV line, I do need to flush the end of my line with a saline syringe. Saline syringes have a white cap on them. They open by tearing the perforated edge on the side. Take it out of the packaging. This white cap, just unscrew it and lift it off. Every one of these syringes has a little bit of pressure on it and a little air in the top. We want to break the seal on the syringe and get the air out before we use them. So I'm going to take my thumb, push up on the bottom until I hear a pop, and then I'm going to pull down until I see fluid come out the top. Once I see the liquid at the top, I know there's no air. I can set this down on my clean, dry surface because the shape of it prevents the end from touching or contaminating it. So now I'm going to pick up my IV line. I'm going to take off my old orange swab cap. Remember, we don't reuse anything, so we're going to throw those away. We want to clean the end of our IV line. We want to clean these ridges and the center. You're going to clean all around the sides and in the center for 10 to 15 seconds. You want to use a brisk scrubbing motion, we call it scrubbing the hub, to make sure that it's good and clean. Make sure you hear the squeak. 10 to 15 seconds. Once I've cleaned the end of the hub, then I'm ready to flush it. I'll take my saline syringe, attach it from the side by pressing the syringe in the center of the hub. There is a spongy part. I'm going to press straight in and turn it to the right. Now I want to flush the line by pushing this black plunger down to the black line on the syringe. Just use a steady motion to flush the lumen of that line. Once I have flushed it, I will remove the syringe and I'm ready to attach my IV tubing. I'm going to take off the cap that's protecting the end of my IV tubing. Make sure I don't touch the end of this. I'm going to push it straight in just like I did the syringe and turn it to the right. Push and turn to the right. Make sure that that is snug so it doesn't leak. Now I want to make sure that the clamp on my tubing is unclamped. If I forget to unclamp this clamp, then we will get an alarm on the pump that's called a high pressure alarm. So if you ever get a high pressure alarm alert, it's either because a clamp has been left clamped or it's because part of your tubing has gotten kinked. If you notice the tubing anywhere is like this, that will cause you to get a high pressure alert alarm. So now I'm attached to my IV line and I'm ready to get my pump started. Now that we have our TPN bag attached to our pump and our IV tubing attached to our IV line. Now we're ready to put it inside our carrying bag and start our pump. At the top of our carrying bag, there's a Velcro piece that will hold our bag into place. Then we're going to take the sides and strap those into place. That keeps it from sliding so that these areas down here don't get kinked. Our pump will fit neatly here in this pocket. This Velcro piece will come over the top. We can close our bag. We want our tubing to come out the bottom. Zip your bag. And then we're ready to start our pump. If we open up the outside of our bag, we can see our pump. If it goes to sleep and you can't see anything on the screen, just press next. Right now, it's in the stopped mode, and I'm ready to start my pump. So I'm going to press start. My pump says, start the pump, yes or no. I'm going to press yes. Once I press yes, the pump will go through all of the settings that have been entered by my pharmacist, making sure everything's accurate. Once it finishes going through the settings, you're going to see this amber light up at the top change to the green light. The green light tells us that the pump is running. So we'll give it just a minute. Let it go through all of those settings. Now my pump is running, and if we look at the pump, it tells me it's running, and I have the green light blinking. So I can close my bag, and I can carry my bag with me or lay it beside me in the bed. Your TPN infusion may be continuous, or it might be cycled at night over a 12 or 13-hour period. We will make sure that you know exactly how your TPN is prescribed and how it needs to be infused for you at home.